I tried to be positive, tried to put a positive spin on everything about the Dallas Cowboys, I even picked them to win last night's game. But lo and behold, right when expectations are there, right when the Dallas Cowboys are supposed to win, right around the time Dallas Cowboy fans start sticking out their chest, blow the gate, talk about, no, we're going to win the Super Bowl, right? No, we're going to win the Super Bowl, right? They fall apart. They fall apart. What happened? What happened to this doomsday defense that y'all were talking about with Quentin Williams? What happened? What happened to this defense with DeMarvion Overshown and what he was supposed to bring to the table? What happened to the combination of CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens and what they were supposed to represent? What happened, y'all? What happened? The Detroit Lions. That's what happened. Courtesy Jamal Gibbs and his 3 touchdowns. Courtesy of 90-plus receiving yards from both Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Courtesy of a defense that got after Dak Prescott a little bit more than was expected. The Lions were the ones who won the turnover battle 3-0 last night, turning takeaways into 14 points, intercepting Dak Prescott 2 times, all right, including one with just over a minute left, sealing the victory. Let's not forget Jake Ferguson lost the fumble as well. And in the end, the Dallas Cowboys fall 44-30 to the Detroit Lions. That defense that we have been bragging about, that defense that we have been talking about, that defense that Quentin Williams has put on the map, allowed 44 points, tying the season worst. And over 400 yards of offense for the 5th time this season, by the way. 1-3-1 in those games, just so y'all know. And as a result, the Dallas Cowboys on the outside looking in, and I'm here to tell y'all, sorry to break the news to y'all. But you're not going to the playoffs. I know the odds right there says it's a 51% chance if they win out, they win the rest of their games. It's a 51% chance of going to playoffs. You ain't going to the damn playoffs. Not going. And within the NFC, yes, you can make an argument about San Francisco and the tough schedule they got coming down the pike, and they're still ahead of you, but they are 9-4. The Dallas Cowboys are 6-6, 2.5 games out. The 49ers as a 7th seed. Obviously, the Lions are the 8th seed. The Panthers are the 9th seed. The Chicago Bears are the 1 seed. The Green Bay Packers are the 6th seed. All of them beat the Cowboys already, except Green Bay, who tied. All of them. All of them. Which means that in a tiebreaker scenario, they would win. Now, the tie between the Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers ensure that it's not going to be a tie with anybody else, but they essentially got a 1.5 game lead on you at the minimum because they all already beat you. They already beat you. And so that's the situation. Do the Cowboys still have a chance? Sure, they can end up winning the NFC East. If the Eagles go into Los Angeles and they lose to the Chargers, sure they could lose. Sure they could lose to win the division. If the Eagles continue to nosedive the way that they've been already, if they continue to be devoid of a running game, Jalen Carter ain't going to be playing Monday night against the Chargers at SoFi Stadium. I'll be there doing Monday Night Countdown on the NFL with the crew. I can't wait for it personally. This is what I'm talking about as we look forward to the season. You're the Cowboys. You still got an outside shot, okay? You still got an outside shot to beat the Eagles. But I doubt it. I can't see that happening. I guess if Carolina ended up winning the South instead of Tampa Bay, you're battling with Tampa Bay for a wild card spot. You haven't gone against them this year. You haven't gone against San Francisco, so you don't have that L on your record. But you ain't going to be ahead of the Rams. You ain't going to be ahead of the Seahawks. You're not going to be ahead of the Bears, who already beat you and got a 9-3 record, a 3-game advantage on you, 3.5-game advantage on you. So your only hope really is to win the division crown. And how you going to pull that off if the Eagles manage to win the next couple of games or so? That's really what this comes down to. It's really not about the Cowboys at this point. It's about the Eagles. Dak Prescott, 376 yards, getting his numbers now. Getting his numbers. CeeDee Lamb, that was a really ugly concussion injury. I mean, when his body when his head hit that turf and he was laid out like that, that was kind of scary to see. And you knew he wasn't going to come back. Here's the problem. That was a perfect opportunity for George Pickens to pick up his game. And he didn't do it. It's not about numbers. It's about presence. And when you see, if you're George Pickens, let me say this to y'all. because I don't want to condemn the kid. I like George Pickens. Just spoke to him a few weeks ago. I'm rooting for the brother. I hope he makes his money. I like him a lot. Here's what I want to say, because I think it's very important to say. He's only 24 years of age. Let's not judge him like he's a grown-ass man and he knows better. Because sometimes you make mistakes in your youth. But I will tell you this. You cannot go out on the field and run routes in such lackadaisical fashion as George Pickens was seen on camera, on footage, doing last night and expect to get the bag. You got to remember that the Dallas Cowboys are already hesitant to pay him but so much because you're giving CeeDee Lamb $36 million. Now, you look at Jamar Chase and T. Higgins in Cincinnati combined, they got a salary where they're both costing Cincinnati about $65 million a year annually. Well, what's the situation going to be with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens? As a matter of fact, the Bengals are at $69 million. George Pickens' projected numbers are around $31 million. Well, you're about $31 million. You and CeeDee Lamb together is going to be at about $65, $66 million. And do you really, really want to pay that to two wide receivers? I would tell you yes, because you see how elite their offense has been for the most part, and you can't predict hurt or whatever. And you do have people out there thinking that George Pickens is really a number one that's better than the number one that is CeeDee Lamb. I'm saying it don't matter. Health and availability matters, but ultimately you got to go out there and you got to run those routes. And you got to run it with fervor and energy. You can't be perceived as lackadaisical. We saw Richard Sherman on Amazon Prime last night doing post game. He called out Pickens. He wasn't lying. He wasn't lying now. Sean, if we don't have that sound, get it. Listen to Richard Sherman and what he had to say about George Pickens after the game.
George Pickens throughout the game, especially late in the game, just looked uninterested in playing football. And that's what you can't have. If you're going to be a superstar, if you want to be the best receiver in the National Football League, you can never be disengaged. It doesn't matter if the game's going your way or not going your way. You can't just disappear in these games or else you're not going to have impact. And just right here, cruising routes. You're the guy. CeeDee Lamb is not in this game. He's out, and you get intercepted on your slant routes, and you can't be the guy and half-ass it. I'm sorry, that's just, you can't, it's unacceptable. And if you're the Dallas Cowboys and you're looking at him and you're looking to pay him big-time receiver money, $40 million, you got to look at this tape and say, hey, is this a guy we can trust paying $40 million to show up regardless of circumstance? I don't know.
Richard Sherman is 1,000% correct. I mean, 1,000. There ain't a syllable or muttering he missed. He is 1,000% correct. And I don't want to hear about him disrespecting George Pickens. He did no such thing. He said, you're the guy. CeeDee Lamb, who was shredding Detroit secondary, had 6 catches for 121 yards before he went down in the third quarter. 6 receptions for 121 yards. He was destroying their secondary before he got hurt. He goes down. Richard Sherman says it. You're the guy. And it's your time. When did we really, really see George Pickens elevate? When CeeDee Lamb went down after suffering that ankle injury against Chicago that had him out for 3 games because the Dallas Cowboys stupidly had CeeDee Lamb lined up in the backfield and gave him the ball on a running play. I'm paying you $136 million. I'm paying you $136 million as a wide receiver. And I got you lined up in the backfield. You got to deal with defensive linemen and linebackers. The brother is just slightly bigger than me. You don't want to be subjected to that kind of hostility. What you want to do is you want to be in that secondary against free safeties and cornerbacks. That's what you want to do. You don't want to have to deal with linemen and linebackers with them ferocious brothers coming at you and you running out of the backfield. Why the hell would you put CeeDee Lamb in a running formation? Brian Schottenheimer. That was just dumb. And I like Brian Schottenheimer, but that was just a dumb move. He got hurt against Chicago because of it. He was out for about 3 weeks and 3 games because of that. And that is when George Pickens shined. That's when he shined. Well, last night was another one of those moments where he had an opportunity to do exactly the same. And from the moment that CeeDee Lamb went down, Pickens was targeted 5 times. He caught 3 passes for 22 yards. 3 passes for 22 yards. In the second half of an absolute must-win game against the Dallas Cowboys. Come on, bro. You got to do better than that. because your skills demand it, because you are better than that. And he was very lackadaisical in his route running. Now, he had an explanation, and I'm sure we have that sound showing. He had an explanation. He had an explanation for why that was the case. And we'll get to that in just a second. But his explanation ain't going to hold water. I can tell you that in advance.